My sister drained my funds and fled with her boyfriend. I was devastated until my 9-year-old daughter declared, "Mom, don't worry. I fixed it." Then days later my sister phoned, utterly screaming. Can you imagine waking up one day, checking your bank account and seeing a big fat zero? Every single penny I'd ever worked for gone. Poof. But the real gut punch? It wasn't some random hacker. It was my own sister, Ashley. The one person I trusted most in the world. And the shock of it, the absolute disbelief, well, it changed everything. Hi, I'm Georgina, 35. A single mom from Seattle. And if you've ever had family betray you, you're going to understand the heartache of this story. Ashley and I? We were inseparable. 7 years older, I practically raised her after our parents' ugly divorce. I mean, from the day she came home from the hospital, her tiny fingers wrapping around mine, I was hooked. I taught her to ride a bike, helped with homework, even scared away monsters under her bed. She followed me everywhere, wearing my hand-me-downs with pride, trying to mimic everything I did. We had this secret language, this unbreakable bond that only sisters understand. Our childhood wasn't perfect, especially when the fighting started. I remember Ashley crawling into my bed, and I'd just tell her stories until she fell asleep, trying to drown out the shouting. When our parents finally called it quits, I was 18, Ashley just 11. It was brutal. They used us as pawns, tearing our lives apart. My mom moved across the country. My dad buried himself in work and a new girlfriend half his age. My college plans? Gone. Someone had to be there for Ashley. And that someone was me. So I put my education on hold. Got a job at a local retail store. Every morning I'd wake her up, make breakfast, check her homework. Every evening I'd cook dinner, help with assignments, make sure she had everything. I wasn't just a sister anymore. I was a stand-in mother, a counselor, a best friend, all rolled into one. Dad would sometimes pop in, guilt flickering in his eyes before he'd disappear again. You really shouldn't have to do all this, Georgina, he'd mumble. My reply was always the same, simple, unwavering. She's my sister. That was it. That was my whole world. By the time Ashley started high school, I was working 2 jobs. My friends were graduating college, off living their lives, while I was pouring coffee by day and waitressing by night. But seeing Ashley thrive? That made it all worth it. She was smart, popular, so determined. When she got accepted into college with a partial scholarship, I swear I was prouder than if it had been my own achievement. I'm going to pay you back for everything someday, she promised the night before she left, her eyes shining. Just succeed. I told her, my voice thick with emotion. That's all the payback I need. Though our bank account was practically empty after buying all her dorm supplies, I meant every word. When I was 25, I met Thomas. Charming, ambitious, and he seemed to absolutely adore me. Within a year we were married, and then I was pregnant with Lily. For a while life felt perfect. Ashley was doing well in college, I had a stable job as an admin, and Thomas and I had this small, cozy apartment. Lily's birth was the happiest day of my life. She had my green eyes, Thomas's dimples, and I just fell head over heels in love. Ashley drove 4 hours just to meet her niece, bringing a handmade blanket she'd spent months knitting. She's perfect, Georgie, she whispered, using my childhood nickname. You're going to be the best mom ever. But then the fairy tale cracked. Lily turned 3, and Thomas started coming home late, always with the same tired excuses about work. His phone was glued to his hand, always locked, and he just grew so distant. And yeah, as cliché as it sounds, I found lipstick on his collar. He didn't even try to deny the affair. Within months, our marriage imploded. Thomas moved across the country with his new girlfriend, barely keeping in contact with Lily. Suddenly, I was a single mother with a broken heart and a mountain of bills. Those first few months were just a blur of tears, sleepless nights, and endless gut-wrenching worry. Ashley, who had just graduated college, immediately packed her bags and moved in with us. I've got you, sis, she promised, her voice firm. Just like you had me. Having her there was a godsend. She helped with Lily, cooked meals when I worked late, and actually made me laugh when all I wanted to do was curl up and cry. But after a few months, small things started happening. Things I just brushed aside. $20 missing from my purse that I was sure I'd left there. Bills that Ashley offered to pay online, but somehow never got paid, leading to late fees. A credit card I rarely use suddenly showing unusual charges. Ashley explained them away as surprise gifts she was planning. Did you take money from my wallet? I finally asked one day, hating the words as they left my mouth. Her eyes immediately welled up. Georgie, I can't believe you'd ask me that, she cried. I must have borrowed it for groceries and forgotten to tell you. I'm so sorry. And I immediately felt this crushing guilt for even doubting her. This was Ashley, the little girl who gave her whole allowance to a homeless man. The one who stayed up all night with me when Lily had her first fever. If she borrowed money, it had to be an innocent mistake, not theft. After a year, Ashley found her own apartment nearby. She still came over almost daily, watched Lily when I worked late. Lily adored her aunt, who brought her little gifts and took her for ice cream every Saturday. They'd have sleepovers, building pillow forts and staying up late watching Disney movies. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. But when you love someone, you make excuses. You create explanations that protect the image you have of them. And I loved my sister too much to see what was happening right before my eyes. 5 years after my divorce, I finally found my footing. Through night classes and countless hours of overtime, I worked my way up from administrative assistant to marketing manager. The promotion came with a substantial salary increase and better hours, which meant more time with Lily, who was now 9 and growing into this remarkably perceptive little girl. You're not as tired anymore, Mom, Lily observed one evening as we cooked dinner, her small hands carefully stirring pasta sauce. That's because I don't have to work 2 jobs anymore, sweetie, I replied, realizing with a pang how much my exhaustion must have affected her. With my improved financial situation, I achieved what once seemed impossible. Buying our own home. It wasn't a mansion, just a modest 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood, but it was ours. Our home. Our sanctuary. The day we got the keys, Lily ran through every room, claiming the smallest bedroom with the bay window as her own. We're never leaving, right, Mom? She asked, her green eyes so serious. This is our forever home. I promised, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. For the first time since Thomas left, I could breathe financially. I opened 3 separate accounts with very specific purposes. First, a college fund for Lily with $15,000, a start toward her future education. Second, an emergency fund, $21,000 built slowly over 5 years of putting aside whatever I could spare. And finally, a savings account with $20,000 earmarked for a small business, a marketing consultancy I dreamed of running from home so I could be more present for Lily. $56,000 in savings. It represented years of sacrifice. Packing lunches instead of buying them, cutting my own hair, taking on freelance projects on weekends, never buying anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. Each deposit, no matter how small, was a victory in my quiet battle for security. While my life stabilized, Ashley seemed increasingly chaotic. Her calls became unpredictable. Sometimes daily, sometimes weeks of silence. She changed jobs frequently, always with dramatic stories about unreasonable bosses or toxic workplaces. Her appearance changed too. Expensive clothes one month, unable to afford a haircut the next. Can I borrow $500 until payday? Became a regular request, though the amounts grew larger and payday sometimes never came. I'd remind her gently about previous loans, and she'd become defensive or tearful. I can't believe you're counting dollars with your own sister, she'd say, her voice trembling. After everything we've been through. Those words always struck their target. I'd transfer the money, telling myself it was just temporary, just family helping family. After all, hadn't I put my entire life on hold for her once? Then Jake entered the picture. Ashley met him at a bar where she was waitressing and fell hard and fast. Within weeks, he was all she talked about. Charming, ambitious Jake, who had big plans and an even bigger personality. He's going to start his own business, she gushed. He just needs some capital to get it off the ground. When I finally met Jake at a dinner I hosted, something just felt off. He was handsome in a conventional way, with perfect white teeth and designer clothes that seemed too expensive for someone between opportunities, as he described himself. He charmed Ashley completely, finishing her sentences, keeping his arm possessively around her waist. What exactly is this business you're planning? I asked over dessert. Import-export, he replied smoothly. I have connections overseas. It's all about who you know. His answers to my other questions were equally vague, sliding away from specifics with practiced ease. More concerning was how he examined everything in my home with calculating eyes, asking pointed questions about my job, my salary, my savings. After they left, Lily tugged at my sleeve. "I don't like him, Mom," she said simply. "Why not, sweetie?" I asked. "He looks at our stuff weird. And he made Aunt Ashley cry in the bathroom." I heard them. I dismissed her concerns as childhood intuition mixed with a protective instinct toward her aunt. "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements," I explained. "It doesn't mean he's a bad person." In retrospect, I should have listened to my 9-year-old daughter instead of doubting her perception. Ashley's requests escalated after Jake became a fixture in her life. She needed money for car repairs, medical bills without insurance, security deposits for apartments she mysteriously had to leave quickly. Each time her gratitude was effusive but short-lived, replaced by new emergencies and needs. 2 months ago, I received a frantic call while preparing for an important 3-day business conference in Portland. Ashley was sobbing, barely coherent. "Jake and I got evicted," she cried. "The landlord gave us no warning. We have nowhere to go." I immediately offered my spare bedroom until they found a new place. "You can stay as long as you need," I assured her. "Mrs. Wilson next door will help with Lily while I'm at the conference." The night before my trip, Ashley asked for my banking password. "Just in case there's an emergency while you're gone," she explained. "What if something happens to Lily and we need money for the hospital?" I hesitated. Financial boundaries had always been a sensitive topic with Ashley. She was quick to bring up how I didn't trust her whenever I established limits. "I've set up an envelope with emergency cash in my dresser drawer," I countered. "And I'll have my phone the entire time." Her face fell. "You still don't trust me, Georgina? After everything? I'm 30 years old, not a child." To avoid an argument before my trip, and to prove I did trust her, I reluctantly wrote down my banking password and left it on the kitchen counter. "Only for a real emergency," I emphasized, ignoring the uneasiness settling in my stomach. As I drove to the airport the next morning, Ashley and Jake waved from the porch, Lily between them, already in her school uniform. If I'd known what would happen in the next 72 hours, I would have turned the car around. But I didn't know. I simply waved back, called out a final, "Love you all," and drove away, leaving everything I valued in the hands of the sister I trusted completely. The marketing conference went exceptionally well. I gave a presentation that impressed several potential clients, and my boss hinted at another possible promotion. During breaks, I called home to check on Lily, who sounded happy and excited about having her aunt staying over. "Jake is teaching me card tricks," she told me during our last call. "And Aunt Ashley said we can have pizza tonight." "That sounds fun, sweetie. I'll be home tomorrow afternoon and we can have a movie night, just the two of us." "Okay, Mom. Love you infinity." "Love you infinity plus one," I replied. Our usual exchange. Everything seemed fine. Until it wasn't. On my third and final morning at the conference, I tried calling Ashley to confirm my arrival time. No answer. I texted, assuming she was busy with Lily's school drop-off. By noon, with still no response, a nagging worry began to grow. I called Mrs. Wilson, who confirmed she'd taken Lily to school that morning as arranged. "Ashley asked me to watch Lily after school too," she added. "Said she had some errands to run. Is everything okay?" "I'm sure it's fine," I said, more to reassure myself than her. "Probably just phone problems." As I waited to board my flight home, I decided to check my bank accounts, something I hadn't done during the busy conference. I opened the banking app on my phone, entered my password, and watched as my world collapsed in an instant. My balance for all 3 accounts, $0. I blinked, assuming it was a glitch, or that I'd logged into the wrong account. I logged out and back in. Same result. My emergency fund? Empty. Lily's college fund? Empty. My business savings? Empty. $56,000. Gone. My hands started shaking so violently I dropped my phone. The boarding announcement became distant noise as blood rushed in my ears. I couldn't breathe. A kind stranger picked up my phone, concern on her face as she asked if I needed medical help. Somehow I made it onto the plane. The 3-hour flight was torture, my mind cycling through increasingly desperate explanations. There must be a banking error. Ashley's phone was broken, and she'd explain everything. Perhaps there was a security breach and the bank froze the accounts. Deep down, I knew none of these scenarios was true. Landing in Seattle, I called Ashley repeatedly while rushing to my car. Still no answer. I drove home, breaking every speed limit, praying I was wrong about what I already knew had happened. Our house looked normal from outside. Flowers still bloomed in the front yard where Lily and I had planted them. The porch light was on, as if waiting for my return. But something felt off immediately. A stillness that suggested emptiness. Inside, Ashley's guest room was cleared out. No clothes in the closet, no toiletries in the bathroom, no note on the bed, just a faint lingering scent of her perfume. I called the police with shaking hands, reporting the theft. The officer who arrived took details with professional detachment. Family fraud is unfortunately common, ma'am, he explained, typing notes into his tablet. Do you have any idea where your sister might have gone? No, I whispered, the reality crashing down harder with each passing minute. I thought I knew her. The officer's expression softened slightly. We'll file the report, but I should be upfront. Recovery in these cases is difficult, especially with family members who know your personal information. After he left, I sat motionless at my kitchen table, staring at the wall. The shock was physical. My body felt cold. My lungs unable to fill completely. My stomach twisted in knots. I trusted Ashley with everything. My home. My daughter. My financial security. In return, she'd taken it all. I called my neighbors hoping someone had seen something. Mr. Peterson across the street had noticed Ashley and Jake loading suitcases into their car the previous evening. Thought they were just going on a trip, he said apologetically. They seemed in a hurry but not suspicious. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't process the magnitude of what had happened. The emergency fund meant to protect us in crisis. Gone. Lily's college fund that I'd sacrificed so much to build. Gone. The business savings that represented my dreams for our future. Gone. But worse than the money was the betrayal. My sister. My baby sister who I'd practically raised, who'd held my hand through divorce, who Lily adored. How could she do this to us? I found a single note tucked in the kitchen drawer where I kept takeout menus. 5 words in Ashley's handwriting. I'm sorry. I had to. Had to steal from her own sister? Had to rob her niece's future? What possible justification could exist for such a betrayal? The hardest part was yet to come. Telling Lily. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that the aunt she adores has stolen our security? How do you preserve a child's trust in people after such a fundamental betrayal? I picked Lily up from Mrs. Wilson's that afternoon, trying to compose myself for her sake. One look at my face and her smile faded. What's wrong, Mom? Let's talk at home, sweetie. Sitting on our living room couch, I tried to find gentle words, but there was no soft way to describe such a harsh reality. Honey, something bad has happened. Aunt Ashley and Jake. They took the money from our savings accounts. All of it. The money for college and emergencies? Lily asked, her voice small. Yes, I confirmed, tears finally breaking through. And they left without telling us. I'm so sorry, Lily. I trusted her and I couldn't continue. Sobs overtook me for the lost money, for the shattered relationship, for my daughter who deserved better than this chaos. I'd failed to protect her, failed to see what was happening under my own roof. Lily watched me cry with a strange calmness, her young face showing a maturity beyond her years. Then she said the words that would change everything. Mom, don't worry. I handled it. Through my tears, I stared at my daughter in confusion. Her face was serious, determined. Not at all what I expected from a child just told her beloved aunt had betrayed us. What do you mean you handled it? I asked, wiping my eyes. Lily stood up, walked to her bedroom and returned with my old smartphone, a device I'd given her for games after upgrading mine last year. She sat beside me, her small fingers navigating to the photo gallery with practiced ease. I never liked Jake, she began, her voice steady. He smiled weird. Not with his eyes. Sweetheart, what are you talking about? 2 weeks ago. I heard them fighting in the guest room when you were working late. Jake was telling Aunt Ashley they needed money fast. Big money. Lily's face scrunched up, recalling the memory. I was scared, so I started recording them on your old phone whenever they were here and I was around. She handed me the phone, showing a video file dated 10 days earlier. With trembling hands, I pressed play. The video showed my kitchen from an unusual angle, apparently hidden behind the fruit bowl on the counter. Ashley and Jake stood arguing in hushed but intense voices. "Your sister is loaded, Ash," Jake hissed. 3 accounts with almost 60 grand. We could use that. "I'm not stealing from Georgina," Ashley replied, looking genuinely horrified. "She raised me. She's done everything for me. And now she gets to live in this nice house while we get evicted again? She owes you." Jake's handsome face was transformed by greed, his eyes cold. "Besides, it's borrowing, not stealing. We'll pay her back after my deal comes through." I watched in stunned silence as my sister shook her head, insisting she wouldn't betray me. The video ended, and Lily queued up another from the following day. This one showed a different angle, from behind a plant in the living room. "I got better at hiding the phone," Lily explained with a hint of pride. In this recording, Jake's tactics had changed. No longer demanding, he was pleading, his arm around Ashley's shoulders. "Baby, I'm in trouble. These aren't the kind of guys you can just tell, 'Sorry, don't have it.' They'll find me, and it won't be pretty." His voice broke convincingly. "I never told you this, but they broke my brother's legs over less money." Ashley's face showed fear. "Why didn't you tell me before? How much do you owe?" "50,000. I felt my heart sink. Jake was manipulating Ashley, playing on her sympathies, and from the look on her face in the video, it was working. "There are more," Lily said quietly, scrolling through dozens of video files. "I recorded everything when they were here." "How did you know to do this?" I asked, astounded by my daughter's foresight. Lily shrugged. "From those detective shows we watch. The bad guys always talk about their plans if you listen long enough." The next video showed Jake on his phone in our backyard, speaking in a completely different tone than he used with Ashley. "Yeah, I found a perfect mark," he was saying, grinning. "Sister's got at least 50 grand saved up. And the best part? She trusts the girlfriend completely. We'll clean it out and be in Mexico before they know what hit them." My stomach turned. Jake wasn't just opportunistically taking advantage of Ashley. He had targeted us from the beginning. But the most revealing video was from the night before I left for the conference. It showed my bedroom, filmed from what appeared to be Lily's hiding spot in the closet. Ashley was sitting on my bed, head in her hands while Jake paced. "I can't do this," Ashley sobbed. "Georgina will be devastated." Jake's charming facade had completely vanished. "You don't have a choice anymore," he snapped. "Either she loses some money or I tell her about Tampa." Ashley's head jerked up, face pale. "You wouldn't. You promised me. Your perfect sister doesn't know everything about you, does she? How do you think she'd feel knowing what you did there?" The threat hung in the air. Ashley's shoulders slumped in defeat. "Fine. But we're paying her back. Every cent." "Sure, baby. Whatever you say." Jake's smile was cold. Victorious. I paused the video, mind reeling. "Tampa?" Ashley had never mentioned Tampa to me. "There's more," Lily said, pulling out a small notebook from her pocket. "I wrote down their conversation when they didn't know I was listening. Jake's real name isn't Jake. It's Daniel Wilcox. He told Aunt Ashley to never call him that, but I heard her use that name when they were fighting." I stared at my 9-year-old daughter in disbelief. While I had been obliviously trusting my sister, Lily had been conducting a thorough investigation. "There's one more thing," she said, taking the phone back and opening a different app. "I set up your laptop in the guest room as a security camera. I told Aunt Ashley I needed it for a school project, but I was really using that spy program you installed when you thought I was playing too many games." The irony might have made me laugh in different circumstances. The parental monitoring software I'd installed was now providing critical evidence. Lily pulled up a video showing Jake going through my desk drawers, finding the banking password I'd written down, and taking a photo of it with his phone. Later in the same video, he opened my laptop and accessed my accounts, writing down all the details. "I saved everything to your cloud storage," Lily explained. "So even if they took my phone, we'd still have the videos." I gathered my remarkable daughter into my arms, holding her tight. "Lily, You are absolutely incredible. But why didn't you tell me what was happening? Her small body tensed against mine. I tried, Mom. I told you I didn't like Jake. I told you I heard them fighting. But you said I was just being jealous of Aunt Ashley. Shame washed over me. She was right. I dismissed her concerns, too blinded by my love for Ashley to see what was happening. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you, I whispered into her hair. That was wrong of me. Lily pulled back, her expression serious beyond her years. It's okay, Mom. Adults make mistakes too. That's why I got the evidence. So you'd believe me. In that moment, the roles felt strangely reversed. My child comforting me, showing wisdom while I floundered in betrayal and disbelief. What do we do now? Lily asked, practical as always. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. My 9-year-old had given us a fighting chance to recover what was stolen. Now it was my turn to be the parent she deserved. Now, I said with newfound determination, we take all this evidence to the police, and we find Aunt Ashley and Jake before they spend all our money. The next morning, I called the police department and asked to speak with the detective about the evidence we had gathered. Instead of the dismissive response I'd received the day before, this time we were told to come in immediately. Lily insisted on bringing her entire investigation kit, the phone, notebook, and a folder where she'd printed screenshots from key videos. Detective Sandra Johnson was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, who reminded me of the no-nonsense teachers I'd respected most in school. She welcomed us into her office, giving Lily a genuine smile. I understand you've collected some evidence, she said, directing her words to my daughter with appropriate seriousness. Lily nodded solemnly and opened her folder. I have video, audio, and written documentation, she replied, sounding like a miniature FBI agent. Under different circumstances, I might have laughed at her formality. For the next hour, we showed Detective Johnson everything Lily had gathered. She watched the videos with increasing interest, pausing occasionally to take notes or ask clarifying questions. When we reached the video where Jake mentioned his real name, she straightened in her chair. Daniel Wilcox, she repeated, typing something into her computer. Let me check something. A moment later, she turned her monitor toward us. The screen showed a mugshot of Jake, or rather, Daniel, looking significantly less polished than the charming man who'd entered our lives. Daniel Wilcox has quite a record, Detective Johnson explained. Fraud, identity theft, confidence schemes. He's wanted in 3 states for similar scams, targeting women, usually through their female relatives or friends, gaining access to finances, then disappearing with the money. He's done this before? My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. Many times. His specialty is finding vulnerable women, gaining their trust, then using them to access their family's resources. Her expression softened slightly. Your sister isn't the first to fall for his manipulation, Mrs. Taylor. Can you find them? Lily asked, leaning forward anxiously. With this evidence, absolutely. We can put out alerts, freeze accounts, and coordinate with other jurisdictions. Detective Johnson looked directly at Lily. You've done exceptional work here, young lady. Most adults wouldn't have been this thorough or quick thinking. Lily beamed with pride, sitting up straighter in her chair. We'll need formal statements from both of you, the detective continued. And I'll want copies of all this evidence, but I'm confident we can build a solid case. As we left the police station, I felt the first stirrings of hope. The money might still be gone, but at least Ashley and Jake, Daniel, wouldn't simply get away with it. 3 days later, Detective Johnson called with news. They traced activity on my credit card to a hotel in Las Vegas. Local police were preparing to make an arrest, but they needed me to confirm certain details first. We believe they've already spent a significant portion of the money, she warned me, but we might be able to recover whatever's left. That evening, as Lily and I were eating dinner, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. When I answered, Ashley's voice exploded through the speaker, so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. How could you, Georgina? How could you send the police after your own sister? She was screaming, her words slurred slightly. They arrested Jake at the casino. They're outside our hotel room right now. I put the phone on speaker so I wouldn't have to hold it, my hands suddenly shaking. You stole $56,000 from me, Ashley. From your niece. What did you expect me to do? He needed the money. They were going to hurt him. You have no idea what you've done, what I've done. The absurdity of her accusation broke something inside me. You emptied my savings accounts. You took Lily's college fund. Jake said we'd pay it back. It was just temporary. I laughed bitterly. Is that what he told you while he was planning your escape to Mexico? While he was calling you his perfect mark? There was a moment of silence. What are you talking about? Your boyfriend is a con man, Ashley. His name isn't even Jake. It's Daniel Wilcox. He's wanted in 3 states for scamming women exactly like you. You're lying, she hissed. But uncertainty had crept into her voice. The police showed me his record. This is what he does, Ashley. He finds women, uses them to access their family's money, then disappears. You're not special to him. You're just a tool. Shut up, she screamed. You're jealous because someone finally loves me more than they love you. You've always had everything. The nice house, the perfect daughter, the successful career. What do I have? Nothing. Her words hit me like physical blows. Was that really how she saw our relationship? As competition? I put my entire life on hold for you, I said quietly. I gave up college to raise you. I've bailed you out financially more times than I can count. I welcomed you into my home, trusted you with my daughter, and now you've ruined my life. Her voice broke. Jake will go to prison because of you. Jake ruined your life, I corrected her. And you helped him ruin mine. How much of our money is left, Ashley? A pause. I don't know. Jake handled the money. How much did you spend? Another pause, longer this time. About $30,000. Jake was on a winning streak at the casino. He said we'd double it, then triple it. $30,000 gone in 3 days. More than half of everything I'd saved. The police are knocking, Ashley said suddenly, her voice smaller. What do I do, Georgie? The childhood nickname nearly broke me. For a second I saw the little girl who'd followed me everywhere, who'd trusted me to keep the monsters away. Tell them the truth, I advised, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. All of it. They'll arrest me too. Probably. I can't go to jail. Please, Georgie. Tell them I didn't know. Tell them Jake forced me. Did he? A long silence. Not exactly, but he said things about Tampa. He threatened to tell you. What happened in Tampa, Ashley? I can't. Her voice cracked. The police are coming in. I have to go. Ashley, wait. But the line went dead. I sat staring at the phone, the unanswered question hanging in the air. What had happened in Tampa? What power did it give Jake over my sister? Lily, who had been silently listening to the entire conversation, placed her small hand over mine. Aunt Ashley sounds scared, she observed. She is scared, I agreed. She made terrible choices, and now she has to face the consequences. Will she go to jail like Jake? I hesitated, unsure how to explain the complexities of the legal system to a 9-year-old. I don't know, sweetheart. It depends on many things, including whether she tells the truth about what happened. Lily nodded solemnly. She should tell the truth. That's what you always say is most important. Out of the mouths of babes, as they say. The simplicity of my daughter's moral compass made the entire situation clearer somehow. The truth was indeed what mattered most now. Not just for the legal consequences, but for any hope of healing the broken trust between my sister and me. Later that night, Detective Johnson called again. Jake had been arrested on multiple outstanding warrants. Ashley was being held as an accomplice, but was cooperating with authorities. They had recovered approximately $26,000 from the hotel safe. Less than half of what was taken, but more than I had dared hope. We'll need you to come to Las Vegas to make a formal identification and statement, she explained. The district attorney there will want to talk to you about pressing charges against your sister. Pressing charges against Ashley. The words felt surreal. This was my baby sister, the girl whose scraped knees I had bandaged, whose nightmares I had soothed, whose graduation I had attended with tears of pride. How had we arrived at this point? As I lay awake that night, I thought about Ashley's accusations. Had I really had everything while she had nothing? From my perspective, I'd sacrificed endlessly for her, put her needs before my own time and again. But perhaps from her view, I was the successful sister who had it all figured out, who was always telling her what to do, always the responsible one she could never measure up to. The truth probably lay somewhere in between. But understanding her perspective didn't excuse what she'd done. $56,000 represented years of careful saving, countless small sacrifices made for Lily's future. Taking that wasn't just stealing money. It was stealing security, opportunity, dreams. In the morning, I would need to book flights to Las Vegas, arrange for Lily to stay with Mrs. Wilson, and prepare to face my sister across an interrogation room table. But for now, I simply let the tears come, mourning the relationship I had thought we had, and facing the painful reality of what actually existed between us. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters was nothing like the cozy police stations depicted in family-friendly TV shows. It was imposing and sterile, with harsh fluorescent lighting that emphasized the dark circles under my eyes. I'd barely slept on the overnight flight, my mind cycling through memories of Ashley as a child, as a teenager, and finally as the woman who had betrayed me so completely. The district attorney assigned to the case, Maria Vasquez, met me in a conference room. She was brisk and efficient, laying out the evidence against both Jake Daniel Wilcox and Ashley. Mr. Wilcox is facing multiple felony charges across several jurisdictions, she explained. Given his prior convictions, he's looking at significant prison time. Your sister's situation is more complicated. Complicated? How? I asked, cradling the department-issued coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since last week. She's a first-time offender and she's cooperating. She claims Wilcox manipulated and threatened her, which may be partially true based on his history. However, the evidence your daughter collected clearly shows she ultimately made a conscious choice to participate. My chest tightened at the mention of Lily's evidence. My 9-year-old's detective work was now part of a criminal prosecution. What are her charges? Grand theft, fraud, identity theft, though the last one might not stick since she was authorized to be in your home. She's looking at up to 5 years, potentially more with aggravating factors. 5 years. My sister in prison until she was 35. The thought made me physically ill. Is there any alternative? I asked hesitantly. Miss Vasquez studied me thoughtfully. You're considering not pressing charges? I don't know, I admitted. She's my sister. We grew up together. I practically raised her after our parents divorced. Family fraud is the hardest kind, Ms. Vasquez said, her professional demeanor softening slightly. But it's also the most damaging. Your sister betrayed your trust in the most fundamental way. I know. However, she continued, there is one possibility. If your sister agrees to testify against Wilcox and provides information about his other criminal activities, we could potentially offer a plea deal with reduced charges. What would that look like? Possibly 18 months in a minimum security facility, plus probation and restitution orders. But that depends entirely on how valuable her testimony is, and her level of cooperation. 18 months still seemed an eternity, but it was better than 5 years, and restitution meant she would eventually have to pay back what was taken. Can I see her? I asked. Miss Vasquez made a phone call and 30 minutes later, I was led to a small room with a metal table bolted to the floor. When they brought Ashley in, I barely recognized her. Her usually perfect hair hung limp around her pale face. The designer clothes were replaced by an orange jumpsuit that made her look small and vulnerable. Without makeup, she appeared younger, more like the sister I remembered. Georgie, she whispered, eyes filling with tears. I didn't think you'd come. I needed answers, I replied, keeping my voice neutral despite the emotions churning inside me. We sat across from each other, a gulf wider than the metal table between us. They arrested Jake, she said unnecessarily. He had fake IDs in the hotel room, passports with different names. His name is Daniel, I reminded her. And yes, Detective Johnson told me he's wanted in multiple states. Ashley's face crumpled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know who he really was. Maybe not at first, I conceded. But you knew what you were doing when you took my money. Lily's college fund, Ashley. Her future. She flinched at the mention of Lily. How is she? Confused. Hurt. She loved you, you know. Idolized you. Ashley covered her face with her hands. I've ruined everything. Yes, I agreed, not softening the blow. You have. What I need to know is why. What happened in Tampa that Jake could use against you? Her hands dropped, eyes widening. How do you know about Tampa? I heard you mention it on the phone, and Lily's videos caught Jake threatening to tell me about it. What did you do that was so terrible? Ashley glanced at the guard standing by the door, then leaned forward, lowering her voice. 2 years ago, I was in Tampa with some friends. We were at this club and I met a guy. He was older, successful. We hit it off, went back to his hotel. She paused, swallowing hard. The next morning, I noticed his wedding ring on the bathroom counter. He'd taken it off at the club. When I confronted him, he offered me money to keep quiet. $10,000. I was broke, about to be evicted. Her voice trailed off. You took it, I finished for her. She nodded miserably. It got worse. He started calling, wanting to see me whenever he was in town, offering more money each time. It went on for months before I finally blocked his number and moved. You were blackmailing him, I stated flatly. I didn't see it that way then. I told myself he was just paying for companionship. She laughed bitterly. I was no better than a... Don't, I interrupted. That's not what this is about. Jake found out somehow. He had this way of getting me to tell him things, then using them against me later. He said if I didn't help him get your money, he'd tell you everything. That you'd be disgusted with me. That I'd lose you and Lily forever. So instead, you chose to steal from us. I believed him when he said we'd pay it back. Her eyes pleaded for understanding. He showed me investment returns, business plans. It all seemed legitimate. By the time I realized what was really happening, we were already in Las Vegas and he was gambling away thousands at the casino. I studied my sister's face, searching for the truth. Was she lying now to save herself, or had she genuinely been manipulated by a practiced con man? The answer was probably somewhere in between. Not innocent, but perhaps not as calculating as I'd feared. The DA is offering you a deal, I said finally. Testify against Jake, Daniel, and they'll reduce your charges. 18 months instead of 5 years. Hope flickered in her eyes. You do that for me? After what I did? I'm not doing it for you, I clarified. I'm doing it because sending you to prison for 5 years won't get my money back. This way, you'll serve less time and have to make restitution. Her face fell at my cold logic. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to fully comprehend what you've done, Ashley. You didn't just take money. You betrayed my trust completely. You broke Lily's heart. You damaged our family in ways that might never heal. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. I promise. Promises from you don't mean much right now, I said, standing up. Take the deal. Cooperate fully. Pay back every cent you can. That's the only path forward I can see right now. Georgie, wait, she called as I turned to leave. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I paused at the door, the question hanging heavily between us. I don't know, I answered honestly. Right now, I can't even imagine it. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. With only $26,000 recovered, I was facing a financial crisis. My emergency fund was depleted. Lily's college savings nearly wiped out. I had to take on freelance projects on weekends just to make ends meet, often working until midnight after Lily was asleep. My coworkers, upon learning what happened, organized a surprise fundraiser that brought me to tears. Family Emergency Fund for Georgina and Lily read the online campaign they created, which raised nearly $7,000 from colleagues, clients, and even competitors in our industry. Their kindness was a bright spot in an otherwise dark time. Lily, remarkable child that she was, never complained about our suddenly tighter circumstances. No more weekly pizza nights, no summer camp this year, fewer new clothes. She accepted each change with a maturity that both impressed and concerned me. No 9-year-old should have to be that grown up. I arranged for her to see the school counselor, worrying about the psychological impact of her aunt's betrayal. Miss Patel, the counselor, assured me that Lily was processing the situation remarkably well. She feels empowered by her role in solving the crime, Miss Patel explained during our parent conference. Rather than feeling victimized, she sees herself as the hero of the story. But is that healthy? I worried. Shouldn't she be more upset? Children are resilient, Miss Taylor. And Lily has a strong sense of justice. She's hurt by her aunt's actions, certainly, but she's focused on the fact that the bad guys were caught. That's actually a very healthy response. I wished I could say the same for my own emotional state. I oscillated between rage and grief, sometimes waking in the middle of the night from dreams where Ashley and I were children again, innocent and inseparable. Other times I'd find myself compulsively checking my bank accounts, paranoid about further theft, despite the changed passwords and added security measures. Ashley called from jail 3 weeks after her arrest. I almost didn't accept the collect call, but something, habit perhaps or lingering sisterly concern, made me agree. I took the deal, she said without preamble. I'm testifying against Jake Daniel, whatever his name. Good, I replied, uncertain what else to say. They're transferring me to a facility in Washington next month to serve my sentence. 18 months like you said. And I'll be on probation after that with restitution payments. I nodded, then realized she couldn't see me. That's good, Georgie. I need to see you before they transfer me. Please. There are things I need to say in person. My first instinct was to refuse. What could she possibly say that would make any difference? But the rawness in her voice gave me pause. I'll think about it, I said finally. And Lily, could I see her too? Just once. Absolutely not, I said firmly. You've done enough damage there. The call ended soon after, leaving me with a decision to make. Did I owe Ashley one last visit? Did I need it for my own closure? The questions plagued me for days until I finally made up my mind. I would see her once more before her transfer. Not for her sake but for mine. To look my sister in the eye and try to understand how we had arrived at this broken place. To search for any possibility of redemption, however distant it might be. The county detention center looked even more dismal in the light of early morning. I'd chosen a weekday visit, leaving Lily with Mrs. Wilson after school, rather than subjecting her to this place. The guard escorted me to the same sterile meeting room where I'd seen Ashley 3 weeks earlier. When she entered, I noticed subtle changes. Her jumpsuit hung looser on her frame, suggesting weight loss. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but her expression was calmer, more settled than before. Thank you for coming, she said, taking the seat across from me. I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I admitted. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. 28 years of shared history, suddenly insufficient for conversation. I've been seeing a therapist here, Ashley finally said. Part of the pre-sentencing program. It's been illuminating. In what way? She traced a pattern on the metal table with her finger. We've been talking about patterns. How I've spent my whole life defining myself in relation to you. I frowned. What does that mean? When we were kids, after Mom and Dad split, you became everything to me. Mother, sister, best friend. You were perfect in my eyes. Responsible, smart, together. Everything I wasn't. I was just doing what needed to be done, I said, uncomfortable with her characterization. I know that now. But back then I put you on this pedestal. And as I got older I started to resent it. Resent you. Because no matter what I did, I couldn't measure up. The word stung but contained a ring of truth I couldn't deny. So I started acting out, she continued. Making choices I knew you wouldn't approve of. Doing things specifically because they would disappoint you. It was childish and stupid. But it was the only way I knew to establish my own identity. By stealing from me? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. No, that was different. That was... She paused, seeming to wrestle with herself. That was the culmination of years of bad decisions, of choosing men who were exciting but terrible for me, of wanting shortcuts to the stability you had worked so hard for. I studied my sister's face, seeing glimpses of the little girl who had followed me everywhere, mixed with the troubled woman she had become. When I met Jake Daniel, I thought he was different. Charming, ambitious, interested in me for myself rather than what I could do for him. I was so desperate to be loved that I ignored every red flag. There were many, I noted dryly. So many, she agreed with a sad smile. But the biggest one was how he drove a wedge between you and me. How he isolated me from the one person who had always been there for me. Classic abuser tactic, I said, remembering articles I'd read about relationship manipulation. My therapist said the same thing. Ashley leaned forward, her eyes meeting mine directly. Georgie, what I did was inexcusable. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I haven't earned that. But I need you to know that I am genuinely deeply sorry. Not just for the money, but for betraying your trust, for hurting Lily, for throwing away everything you did for me. The sincerity in her voice caught me off guard. I had expected excuses, deflection, perhaps even blame. Instead, I was hearing what sounded like genuine remorse. The money, I began. I'll pay back every cent, she interrupted. I've already arranged with the DA to garnish any prison wages and future earnings until it's fully repaid. It will take years, but I'll do it. It's not just about the money, Ashley. I know, she drew a shaky breath. It's about the fact that I destroyed our relationship, that I hurt the two people I love most in the world, that I chose a con man over my own sister and niece. Tears filled her eyes but didn't fall. I don't expect you to believe me now. Words are cheap, especially from someone who's lied as much as I have. But I'm going to prove it to you day by day, year by year, for as long as it takes. Even if you never speak to me again after today, I'm going to make this right somehow. I sat back, absorbing her words. There was a conviction in them I hadn't heard from Ashley before. Not the desperate promises of someone trying to escape consequences, but the measured determination of someone facing them head-on. Jake goes to trial next month, I said, changing the subject slightly. Will you testify? Yes. About everything. Tampa, the schemes, how he targeted other women, whatever they need. She paused. He's been writing me letters from jail. Threatening at first, then apologetic, then promising we could still be together when this is all over. And I'm not responding. My therapist says it's part of the cycle, keeping me emotionally engaged, maintaining control even from jail. I'm done being controlled. For the first time since discovering the theft, I felt a flicker of hope for my sister. Not forgiveness. That was still too distant a prospect, but hope that perhaps she might finally be confronting the patterns that had led her here. How's Lily? Ashley asked tentatively. She's resilient, doing well in school. The counselor says she's processing everything in a healthy way. I hesitated, then added, she asks about you sometimes. Ashley's eyes widened. She does. She wants to know if you're okay. If you're sorry for what you did. And what do you tell her? The truth. That you made very bad choices that hurt a lot of people, and now you have to face the consequences. But that, yes, I think you are sorry. A tear finally escaped, tracking down Ashley's cheek. Thank you for that. For not painting me as a monster to her. She loves you despite everything. Children have an amazing capacity for love, even when adults don't deserve it. Will I ever see her again? The question was barely audible. I don't know, Ashley. That depends on many things. On you. On her. On how the next few years go. I won't force her either way. She nodded, accepting this uncertain future as the best answer I could give. When the guard indicated our time was nearly up, Ashley reached across the table, her hand stopping short of touching mine. There's one more thing I need to say, she began. Something my therapist and I have been working on. I need to take full responsibility without excuses. She straightened her shoulders. I stole from you. I betrayed your trust. I hurt your daughter. These were my choices, regardless of Jake's influence. I alone am responsible for what I did. And I will accept whatever consequences come from it. Legal and personal. The words seemed rehearsed but sincere. A therapeutic exercise transformed into genuine accountability. Thank you for saying that, I said quietly. It matters. As I stood to leave, Ashley remained seated, hands folded in front of her. Will you write to me? She asked. Just occasionally. Let me know how you and Lily are doing. I paused at the door. I'll think about it. It wasn't a promise, but it wasn't a refusal either. For now it was all I could offer. True to her word, Ashley testified against Jake the following month. His trial revealed a pattern of crimes spanning nearly a decade. Multiple identities, countless victims, hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen from vulnerable women and their families. With Ashley's testimony and evidence from other victims, he was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Ashley began her 18-month sentence at a minimum security facility in Washington state. True to her word, she wrote regularly. Letters I didn't answer at first, then began to read, and eventually months later started to reply to with brief updates about our lives. The healing process was slow and painful. Some days the anger would return full force, especially when financial stress hit hardest. Other days I'd find myself missing the sister I thought I had, the person I believed Ashley to be before the betrayal. Therapy helped both for Lily and for me. So did time. The sharp edges of betrayal gradually dulled, not into forgiveness exactly, but into a kind of acceptance. What had happened couldn't be undone. The question was how to move forward. 1 year after Ashley's arrest, our lives had found a new normal. I'd received a significant promotion at work, partly due to a major client I'd brought in through one of my weekend freelance projects. Lily was thriving in school, her brief detective career having sparked an interest in computer science and technology. She joined a coding club and spent hours creating simple games and programs. The restitution payments from Ashley's prison job were small but steady. Combined with what had been recovered initially and my increased salary, we were slowly rebuilding our financial security. It would be years before we fully recovered, but the acute crisis had passed. On a warm Saturday afternoon, I received a letter unlike the others Ashley had sent. This one contained a small handmade card, carefully crafted from materials available in prison. Colored pencil drawings and origami flowers for Lily. The envelope specified, "If you think it's appropriate." Inside, Ashley had written a simple message. "Dear Lily, I'm sorry for the hurt I caused you and your mom. You were brave and smart and did the right thing. I'm working hard to become someone worthy of knowing you again someday. With love, your Aunt Ashley." I showed it to Lily that evening, watching her face carefully as she read it. "What do you think?" I asked when she finished. "I think Aunt Ashley is really sorry," she said thoughtfully. "Can I write back to her?" The question caught me off guard. "You want to?" Lily nodded. "Not a lot. Just to tell her I got her card. Is that okay?" I considered the request. The counselor had advised following Lily's lead regarding contact with Ashley, emphasizing that forcing either communication or separation could be harmful. "Yes," I decided. "You can write a short letter if you want to. I'll read it before we send it." "Okay." She hugged me tightly. "Mom, are you still mad at Aunt Ashley?" I stroked her hair, considering my answer carefully. "I'm still hurt by what she did, but I'm not as angry as I was. She's trying to make things right and that matters." "Will she come live with us again when she gets out of jail?" "No, sweetheart. That won't happen. But maybe someday we might see her occasionally in a public place with supervision at first. If she continues to show she's changed." Lily seemed satisfied with this answer, accepting the complex reality with the adaptability children often show. In the months that followed, a tentative communication developed. Cards and letters exchanged on birthdays and holidays. Brief updates shared through carefully composed notes. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was something. A tiny bridge being rebuilt across a chasm of betrayal. Ashley was released after serving her full 18 months. As required by her probation, she moved into a halfway house, found a job at a local restaurant, and continued therapy. Her restitution payments increased with her waitressing income and tips. 6 months after her release, we met at a park near my home. Neutral territory, public and safe. The woman who approached our bench looked both familiar and strange. My sister, but humbled. Her designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. Her once perfect makeup, minimal and subdued. Our conversation was awkward, halting, filled with the weight of everything that had happened. Lily, more resilient than either of us, broke the tension by showing Ashley her latest coding project on a tablet. The simple game she'd created, where a detective character collected clues to solve mysteries, brought surprised laughter from all of us. That meeting didn't magically restore our relationship. Nothing could erase the betrayal or instantly rebuild trust shattered so completely. But it was a beginning. A tentative step towards something new. Not the blind trust of before, but a cautious, eyes-wide-open connection built on accountability rather than obligation. Through this painful journey, I learned lessons I never expected. That sometimes the people closest to us can cause the deepest wounds. That forgiveness isn't a single decision, but a daily choice. That boundaries aren't selfish, but necessary for healthy relationships. And most importantly, that listening to a 9-year-old's instincts might be the wisest choice of all. I also learned that family isn't defined by unconditional acceptance of harmful behavior, but by the courage to hold loved ones accountable while leaving room for genuine change. True love sometimes means walking away until healing can happen for both parties. Today, 3 years after that terrible discovery, Ashley and I speak monthly. She's making steady restitution payments and building a new life, modest but honest. Lily sees her occasionally, always with me present. Trust returns in microscopic increments, earned through consistent actions rather than promises. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if Lily hadn't been so observant, so brave, so determined to protect us. Would Ashley have eventually returned on her own? Would she have recognized Jake's manipulation without the legal consequences that forced her to confront reality? Would I have ever learned the truth about my sister's resentment and jealousy that fueled her choices? I'll never know. But I do know this. The greatest wisdom sometimes comes from the most unexpected sources, like a 9-year-old who saw what I couldn't see and acted when I wouldn't. So I have to ask, have you ever had a moment where you ignored your gut feeling about someone, only to regret it later? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.